I've saved my progress as 63.headline.ai found inside the O8 type folder. All right, let's make a few additional adjustments, like this byline here is way too big and it's set in the wrong font. So I'm going to triple click inside of that third line of point text, and I'm going to press Control-Shift-Alt-F or Command-Shift-Option-F on the Mac to select the font option in the character panel. And I'm going to type in Adobe Cas like that. That is Adobe C for Caslon, and that'll get me Adobe Caslon Pro. Again, assuming, by the way, that you have Adobe Caslon Pro installed on your system. If you don't, then experiment with a different typeface. Then I'm going to tab to the style option, and I'm going to change it to italic just by entering I and pressing the tab key. And then I happen to know exactly what size value I want to use, so I'm going to enter 34 for the type size value and press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac. Now notice that that byline is now pretty darn far away from the text above it. So I want to adjust the leading value in order to scoot the type upward. And I want to be able to see my character panel at the same time I'm working, because after all, the control panel, while it's showing me the type size, is not showing me leading. And so I want to scroll the page down a little bit, but I can't press the spacebar to get the hand tool, because if I did that, then I would wipe out my text right there. So instead, I'm just going to use the scroll wheel on my mouse to scoot things down a little bit. And remember, this is very important when you're working with text inside of Illustrator. Remember that you have those scroll wheel tricks and that you can press Control or Command with the scroll wheel in order to move to the right or to the left. Once you get used to the hand tool, it's very tempting to press the spacebar and then wipe out your text like so. All right, I'll undo that bad maneuver. To change the leading incrementally from the keyboard, you press Alt or Option along with the up or down arrow key. So pressing Alt up arrow reduces the leading value and therefore moves the text upward. Pressing Alt down arrow increases the leading value and therefore moves the text downward. And notice that I'm working in 0.5 point increments because that's what I requested in the Preferences dialog box in the previous exercise. If you want to change the leading value by 5 times that increment, then you press Control-Alt up arrow or down arrow. That would be Command-Option up arrow or down arrow on the Mac. All right, so I'm going to press whatever keyboard shortcut it takes. And in my case, it was a combination of Control-Alt up arrow and then Alt down arrow a couple of times. That would be Command-Option up arrow and Option down arrow a couple times on the Mac in order to ultimately change that leading value to 54 point. And you might say to me, well, Deke, if you knew it was going to be 54 point, why didn't you just enter it? That would have been a lot easier. However, in real life, you're experimenting and you're trying to figure out what's going to work best. All right, one more change I want to make to this text right here. I'm going to close my character panel by pressing Control-T, Command-T on the Mac. And I'm going to press the Control key or the Command key on the Mac and scroll down a little bit to scroll my text a little bit to the left. And I want to go ahead and scoot this text over so it aligns to the right-hand margin. And you might figure what you do is you go up here to the control panel. Notice we have these align options: align left, align center, and align right. So you might figure align right's the way to go. Well, if you click align right, you're going to send your text to the right of the anchor point that's associated with your point text. So that's not going to work at all. And the reason is because you don't have a text frame, that anchor point is your only point of alignment. So that's the wrong way to go. And by the way, these guys have keyboard shortcuts. It's Control-Shift-R for align right. That's Command-Shift-R on the Mac. Control-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C on the Mac for align center. And then for align left, Control-Shift-L or on the Mac, Command-Shift-L. So pretty easy to remember, just Control-Shift or Command-Shift along with the first letter in left, center, or right. So I want to leave my text left aligned. In order to scoot it to the right, I need to add an indent. So I'll bring up my paragraph panel by clicking on the word paragraph right there. You can also bring up your paragraph panel from your icon column if you created a column of icons much earlier in this series. Or you can press the keyboard shortcut Control-Alt-T in order to hide the panel in my case, or Command-Option-T to bring it back on the Mac. So that's Control-Alt-T, Command-Option-T. In any case, here's my left alignment option right there, and I want to change this left align value to 52 points. I just happen to know that, but obviously you could use the up arrow key in order to increase that value, what have you. You would ultimately figure out the right setting through trial and error. I'll press the tab key, and that places the text where I want it to be. Now, this may surprise you that I'm not scooting the text over farther. I'll go ahead and hide that paragraph panel for a moment. Because after all, my headline text is extending several points beyond the end of the R in author. However, we're going to change the spacing between the characters in the headline using a special kerning option that'll demonstrate in the next exercise.